Good afternoon, everyone. It's almost as if somebody knew the cycles. Coming up to October 2024, second magnetic field in our solar system. Look for the changes, signs in the heavens. Noctilucent clouds further south than ever before. Paris, Calgary. But don't worry, it's a solar angle at dusk with the swamp gas reflecting off of a hummingbird's wings. Rare mid-June snow. Iceland tourist rescued. Largest anomaly ever measured. Ice gain. Greenland, don't look at that. Look at this. Squeezed lava straight from our crust. Another electromagnetic effect. Southern hemisphere leading during this grand solar minimum. New Zealand, all-time lowest temperatures ever recorded. Historic snowfalls, incredibly rare. Argentina, state of the harvest. Look in Paraguay, Uruguay, and Brazil. Massive drought, crop reductions. Yemen, one of the driest places on the planet, flooded. Colonial Pipeline just paid that ransom of $5 million after 5,500 miles of systems were shut down by hackers. This is another reason that you're seeing your gas prices increase recently. If these mega corporations' IT systems can be so incredibly vulnerable because anything or anybody connected to the internet is now a target, nobody should be online without a VPN. Time to disguise your traffic. You can head over to virtualshield.com and in the download tab, I'm going to choose Firefox. And click Install Now to add the Virtual Shield add-on. It's just that easy. And get started with your free 30-day trial. Install it, click Connect. You'll see the shield turn from red to green. And you'll see how from my initial service provider, I was able to even change my IP. Virtual Shield Network protected. Take advantage of their free 30-day trial with an extended 30-day money-back guarantee. Go to virtualshield.com/adapt2030 or visit the link below to get 30% off for the next 24 hours. And all eyes are on the planetary alignment coming in October 2024. Top 2 miles of our crust are going to have some serious anomalies where it's going to rift, shift, shake, slide, and break. Our infrastructure is included in that. So who knew these cycles? That it would be a fire sale now, salvage what you can, wait for the new world to reorder itself after this. There shall be signs in the skies, signs in the heavens. Noctilucent clouds dropping the furthest south ever recorded, well, at least in the last couple hundred years with our records. Beautiful images of Paris through the story here. This has to be one of my favorites. Looks like a lighthouse going through the noctilucent clouds off the Eiffel Tower. But then if we jump a continent, Calgary, Alberta, during the same days, coldest and highest clouds on Earth. They make it sound so normal, but it's not. It's so rare that they have to come up with explanations for it. They're trying to explain that with the summer solstice in the northern hemisphere, the solar angle at dusk is allowing more sunlight to pass at a different angle for a longer period of time. That doesn't explain the cold temperatures that you need to make noctilucent clouds. And where did all this cometary dust come from to form such clouds at this thick density that we're seeing? And one thing I noticed about the Weather Network's commentator on the video here, he said these temperature measurements were pegged as high as our instruments would take us, at 120 degrees Fahrenheit below zero. But when I look, I don't see the same coloration matching with that. So I linked the video in the description box below, along with all of tonight's images and stories, so you can check this out yourself. What was verbally spoken does not match with the graphic in the story. And speaking of other things that make no sense, Greenland, surface mass, budget, loss or gain, blue is gain. I thought that rocket ship profile there was a mistake. When I looked at this back in May, Thought they might have corrected it, but sure enough, record stands. Most gain ever for any day of any month of any year ever for the most mass gain in a single day going into the melt season. Wonder how that's possible. June 20th, back to normal again. Don't look at the blue spike. It was just a Quetzalcoatl feather. Rare mid-June snowstorm blasting Iceland, trapping tourists. Mid-June snow was so heavy, so rare. Caught everybody off guard, had to be rescued. They were trapped. Severe snowstorms. Now notice the headline here where it says rare mid-June snowstorm compared to what's coming off the Telegraph from the UK. Iceland tourists rescued from snow as a wintry weather batters green list nation. That is a hugely different title for the exact same event. And also in there, the one single sentence that I found of interest buried way down, what makes this Arctic Depression specialist how southern it is. But also take a look at the graphic. Now, is this a place you want to visit? It almost makes me look like I'm in a prison. The Green List Nation is a list of nations out of the UK that you can travel to that have been approved for travel. And this Iceland with the bars in front and wintry scene, does that check the top of your bucket list? Not mine. Over to Etna, and you would envision a huge amount of lava fountains, mud volcanoes, and sand volcanoes to start ticking off across the planet as we get into this magnetic coupling, which is really in earnest going to start in July and August of this year in 2021. Massive amounts of fountaining. I'm calling mud and sand. Lava, yeah, that's kind of a low-hanging fruit to pick as a forecast. Mud volcanoes, sand volcanoes, inbound. Unusually high lava fountains. This was in Iceland early part of May. Last image was June 20th, Etna. Some of the biggest fountains I've ever seen, and that's pressure. Top several miles of the crust, magnetic anomaly. Moving jet streams will be a part of this as well. Here we are, Yemen, one of the driest places on the planet. Unless the West African monsoon was shifting, which would also bend rainfall patterns on a 4,000-year cycle, we'd start to see a lot of new precipitation in desert areas. Hail coming down, and a little bit of industrious work, and hey, you can fill a whole wheelbarrow. Probably make some incredible sculptures with that. Speaking of white wintry stuff, no snow in 14 years, and then suddenly historic, deep, thick snows halt agricultural harvests. Argentina. Now, if it wasn't bad enough that South America is in an incredible drought at the moment, now the snow comes in, and now the harvest is halted because the fields are too wet, too snowed in. That's very strange. Historic snowfall hits Argentina. They even, in the media down there in The Nation, which is a publication in Argentina, quote-unquote, incredibly rare snowfall. So they're going back the last 120 years, and 2007, 1975, 55, 1920, 18, 12, this year. So the depths that they're talking about here in Calamuchita Valley, making headlines. Also making headlines is the continuing drought. Drought monitor, the further you go east, the worse it gets. Brazil lost 25% of its production at least this year, to be counted. And then, smaller producers adding into the total. Paraguay, Uruguay, Argentina, which also suspended wheat and corn exports. There's going to be no extra buffer for global crop yield this year. In addition, things seem just a tiny bit out of whack, do they not, for planting and harvesting? Staying in the southern hemisphere, New Zealand suffered, what? All-time record cold. Lowest temperature ever recorded. Well, it only goes back to 1963. So I guess the Maori accounts are really where we need to go. Officialdom would be in the traditional oral records passed down through the centuries. Just like in Florida, the Seminole First Peoples talked about the Great White Rain when it snowed in southern Florida all the way down to when the Everglades froze. So you have to take a deep look into Maori tradition and what was spoken of ice. So some of the temperature readings here with the yellow pins: 10 degrees Celsius below zero, which takes that down to around 20 Fahrenheit. And through New Zealand, there's been an enormous amount of temperature anomalies. South Island, grapes, vineyards, a full gamut and list of strangeness in temperatures, along with fierce and ferocious storms. Now, staying on that, the most ferocious area of the planet, Antarctica. Sea ice extent, green line this year. Yellow line, 30-year average. Do my eyes deceive me, or is that above the 30-year average? Ice gain. And it's so early in the season, I bet that ice is going to increase because it's just 0.2 of a degree Celsius away from the all-time record coldest June temperatures across the southern continent. Might want to think about some storable foods, seeds, and getting a little prepared for the changes. The fire sale's happening across the planet for businesses and our way of lives. Something's being reset right now. It's as if the changes are already known and the havoc it's going to wreak across the civilization. These same events have played out 5 times in the last 2,000 years. Food gets expensive, people move, economies shift, governments change. My Patriot Supply and Adapt 2030, the 2-week or the 4-week emergency food supply, as well as the 1 month, 6 month, and 1 year food supplies as well. Give yourself a peace of mind knowing that you do have storable foods. You can wait out some of the emergencies and emerge when it's a little bit safer to go outside if that were to happen. Links to the description box below. It's a great way to support the channel, as well as all the links for tonight's stories, images, and pictures so you can do your own research. And I encourage you to do your own research. Don't listen to what I'm saying. Do your own research. Try to disprove everything I've said in the video, and that will take you down your own rabbit hole where truth is stranger than fiction, and you'll see the narratives. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.